For the first 5 years of our marriage, Daniel had been what everyone would call the perfect husband. The only minor flaw was his dedication to his work, but I never saw that as a negative. That perception of perfection, however, changed on one specific day. It all happened during a company retreat while we were playing a game of truth or dare. The new intern, a young woman named Olivia, insisted that I join her in a dare. We would both pretend to be drunk and call our partners to come and get us. When I called Daniel, he didn't even answer. After a few rings, the call just ended. A moment later, a message popped up on my screen from him. It was a single word: busy. But in the very next instant, a familiar male voice came from the intern's phone. "I'm on my way to get you." I automatically turned to look at her. She was staring directly at me, her eyes filled with an undisguised challenge. It was in that moment that I knew my marriage had to end. I had only decided to come to the retreat at the last minute. After a long day of team-building activities, I was feeling tired and just wanted to have a quick dinner and head home. But then, a girl abruptly sat down in the seat right next to me. As I was about to move over to give her some space, one of my colleagues nearby gently warned her, "Hey, Olivia, that's our Vice President, Clara. You shouldn't crowd her like that." I offered a polite smile. "It's all right," I said. "We're all here to unwind. Let's just have a good time." The girl, Olivia, had already settled in beside me. She was quite pretty, with large, expressive eyes that seemed to sparkle when she smiled. She had a look of innocence that made her seem instantly likable. "You're new here, aren't you?" I asked with a smile. She extended her hand toward me. "Yes, I'm the new intern. I just turned 21 this year." I nodded, and then, completely out of the blue, she said, "Let's play truth or dare. VP Clara, you and I can start things off for everyone." Before I had a chance to respond, she had picked up my phone from the table and was holding it out to me, one eyebrow raised. "Come on, VP Clara, it's just a dare." I had to admit, her boldness was almost admirable, like a young animal completely unaware of danger. Since everyone was watching, I didn't want to be the one to ruin the mood, so I took my phone back. "What's the challenge?" I asked. "We both pretend we're drunk and call our boyfriends to come pick us up," she said, her voice full of a confident energy. But I've been in the business world long enough to read people, and underneath her enthusiasm, I could sense a clear trace of smugness and defiance. So, the rumors about the bold new generation of workers were true. I didn't feel angry, just a little amused. I found Daniel's contact and pressed dial. Since it was part of the game, I put the call on speaker. People around us started to laugh and tease. "Olivia, playing this kind of game with our VP Clara is a risky move. You haven't met her husband, Daniel, have you? He's the CEO. A true model of a devoted husband. Forget pretending to be drunk, VP Clara could call him for no reason at all, and he'd drop everything to come running." As they laughed, the dial tone from my phone just kept beeping. The call never connected, and then it was disconnected. A few seconds later, I received a text message from Daniel. Just one word: busy. I managed a small laugh. I guess I lose. "My turn now," Olivia announced, her voice rising with excitement. A few people gave her subtle looks, silently urging her to back down, but Olivia was still young. She hadn't learned the unspoken rules of a professional environment yet. She didn't know how to read the atmosphere. Her call went through on the first ring. Her voice became incredibly sweet. "I'm drunk. Can you come pick me up, please?" Only after she spoke did she tilt her head to look at me, her chin slightly raised in a look of pure provocation. I suddenly understood that Olivia was specifically targeting me, though I couldn't figure out why. I had never met her before this event. Aside from company-wide gatherings, our paths would likely never cross. The next second, a deep male voice came through her phone. "I'm coming to get you." That voice sent a shiver down my spine. It felt as if someone had thrown a bucket of ice water on me. I knew that voice all too well. It was my husband, Daniel. "Okay, I'll wait for you," Olivia replied sweetly before hanging up. She turned back to me, the look of satisfaction and smugness impossible to miss on her face, like a victorious general enjoying her triumph. It was then that I finally understood why she had been targeting me. She wasn't trying to shake up the workplace. She was trying to shake up my marriage. All I felt was a strange mix of anger and amusement. The fact that Daniel ignored my call but instantly answered another woman's was a betrayal. but I hadn't even had the time to process the anger I should have been feeling. I glanced at Olivia's phone screen and smiled slightly. You forgot to tell your boyfriend the address, I reminded her, deliberately putting emphasis on the word boyfriend. Olivia looked at me as if I were a fool and smiled. Oh, right. Good thing you reminded me. I'll send him my location right now. In front of me, she opened her messaging app, found Daniel's contact, and sent her location. She even angled her phone slightly so I could see the name he was saved under. Sweetheart. Some of our colleagues had started to look at Olivia with strange expressions. Even if they hadn't caught on to her direct provocation towards me, her obvious attempt to get close to the ultimate boss was making her look unprofessional. To everyone else there, she just seemed socially awkward. Even without me saying anything, this young intern was already making things difficult for herself at the company. Unless, of course, her boyfriend was there to support her. It was in that moment that the anger I hadn't had time to feel before began to slowly burn inside me, starting as a small flicker and growing hotter with each passing second. About 40 minutes later, the door to our private dining room opened. Olivia, who had been talking loudly to keep everyone's attention, looked up, and her face lit up with a smile. The others looked over to see who had arrived, and one by one they stood up. Someone laughed and said, "Who said our VP Clara lost?" Look, Mr. Vance came to pick her up after all. VP Clara is just too modest to make a big deal out of things. If this were a real contest, no one could beat her. Mr. Vance, you must have been worried about Clara, huh? Daniel walked into the room with his usual gentle and polished smile, giving everyone a polite nod. Then, he walked directly to me. His voice was low and warm, filled with the same tenderness he always used when he spoke to me. How much did you drink? He helped me to my feet and then turned to the rest of the group. Clara has a sensitive stomach, so she'll stop drinking for tonight. I'll take her home first. You all continue to have fun. Don't worry, Mr. Vance. We'll keep the party going. VP Clara, get some good rest. Ha ha, look at that. Mr. Vance is so protective. We should probably explain, Mr. Vance. VP Clara didn't actually drink that much. We were just playing a game of truth or dare. Olivia, you lost, so it's time for your penalty drink. I stood up and glanced down at Olivia. She was staring at Daniel with a look of pitiful grievance, like a small, wronged animal. It was honestly a bit pathetic. I couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. It was just a game. No need to take it so seriously. Go ahead and keep playing, or if you want, we can give you a ride home. Olivia pouted and finally pulled her gaze away from Daniel's face. With a forced stubbornness, she said, "No need. I can get home by myself. I lost, and I'll accept my punishment." She picked up the glass in front of her and drank it all in one go, then poured herself another. "I'll drink 3 more as a penalty," she announced. I tilted my head slightly and glanced at Daniel. It was obvious Olivia was trying to throw a tantrum, but Daniel didn't seem to look at her even once. From the moment he walked in and saw me, his eyes hadn't left me. When our eyes met, Daniel's expression remained gentle. "Let's go." I said goodbye to everyone and left without another word. Daniel picked up my purse and followed me out. We didn't speak on the way home. Once we were inside our house, Daniel finally offered an explanation. "Olivia is the daughter of my college advisor. She's just interning at the company. My professor asked me to look after her." I slipped off my high heels and started walking toward the stairs. "Let someone else look after her, Daniel." "All right," he replied. "Oh, by the way," I said, stopping on the first step. I turned around and looked down at him. "Olivia said she's your girlfriend. The contact name you have for her is Sweetheart." I looked him directly in the eye. "How far have things gone between you two?" Daniel's face darkened. "Don't talk nonsense. I'm only looking after her because of my connection to her father." "Then make that clear to her. Don't let her get the wrong idea that she has any chance of coming between us. She's just a young girl who doesn't understand things. But Daniel, you should understand what boundaries mean for adults." I turned and went upstairs, heading straight into the bathroom. Afterward, I lay down on the bed and turned off the lights. Daniel got into bed and wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Are you still mad?" he asked softly. His fingers slid under the hem of my nightgown, resting on my stomach. "I'm sorry I upset you," he said. I only went to pick her up because she's young and new to the city. I was worried something might happen to her, and I wouldn't be able to explain it to her father. But you're not like her. You're Clara. You're strong. You would never let anything happen to you. I knew that being strong had always been my goal, to be powerful and independent. But in that moment, a softer part of me stirred. I turned over and buried my face in his chest. Daniel, I'm still a person. I have moments when I'm weak and vulnerable too. All I wanted in those moments, when I was tired and needed to rest, was for the person beside me to be you, my husband, because I loved you. Daniel held me tighter. I know. There won't be a next time. I'll make it clear to her tomorrow. I'll have her apologize to you. I nodded. Okay. The next morning, after I finished a meeting, I returned to my office. It wasn't long before Daniel came in with Olivia walking beside him. Olivia, Daniel said in a calm voice, apologize to your sister-in-law. Olivia walked up to me with a bright, sweet smile. Sorry, sis. Last night was my mistake. Please don't be mad, okay? You're older and wiser. Don't hold a grudge against a young person like me. She fluttered her eyelashes and added in a cheerful tone, I say all kinds of silly things. Can't you just treat it like childish nonsense, sis? Daniel reminded her, change the contact name. Without hesitating, Olivia pulled out her phone and, right there in front of me, changed Daniel's contact name from Sweetheart to Daniel Bro. See, sis? I changed it. It won't happen again. Daniel nodded. Good, you can go back to work now. But Olivia walked over to my side and, with a fake familiarity, linked her arm through mine. Nope. I still have so much to talk about with sis. You wouldn't understand our girl talk anyway. Go on, get out of here. Daniel's eyebrows drew together slightly. Olivia unlinked her arm and instead draped it casually over my shoulder. What? Don't tell me you're afraid I'll bully your wife, she said teasingly. Am I really that scary? Besides, sis here clearly has a strong personality. She's older than me too. How would I dare bully someone more mature than me? Just then, Daniel's phone rang. As always, he was busy. He said something brief to me, gave Olivia a long, heavy look, and then left. As soon as the door closed, Olivia walked around and sat in the chair across from me. She glanced around my office and said, This office is huge. You really are the career woman type, huh? A wave of disgust rose in my chest. I answered coldly, I'm busy. Please leave. Suddenly, Olivia said, I like Daniel. I didn't even look up from my work. I know, but I'm busy right now. Please leave. She clearly hadn't expected me to respond that way. After a moment of silence, she asked, I said I like Daniel. Aren't you going to react at all? I almost laughed, feeling both speechless and amused. Because you're not the first woman who has tried to become Daniel's mistress. A man like Daniel, whether he was married or not, was always going to attract women. I was fully aware of that, just as I was aware that there were plenty of men who wanted to have an affair with me. Both Daniel and I knew this, but in the 5 years we had been married, our hearts had never wavered. We had always been working toward the same goals. We could both clearly see the effort and commitment the other was putting into our marriage. But Olivia was different, or at least she believed she was. You don't think I'm like those other women, do you? She said with a smirk, her voice bright with the fearless confidence of a girl who was too young to understand what she was getting into. I'm not like them, Olivia said confidently. Let's make a bet. Give me 3 months, and I swear I'll win Daniel over. If I lose, I'll leave this city and never see him again. But if you lose, you have to divorce him and give him to me. She raised her eyebrows at me, challenging me. Do you dare? I gave a small smile and kindly reminded her, Your competition isn't me. It's all the other women who also want to be his mistress. Olivia lifted her chin. Daniel doesn't like them. He likes you. He just doesn't like me yet. That's why I'm asking you for 3 months. Do whatever you want, I said flatly, lowering my head and returning to my work, refusing to waste another second on her. You'll see, she huffed before storming out. The fire inside me flared up again. I tossed the file in my hands onto the desk. How was Daniel still not handling such a small issue? I picked up the internal phone line and told my assistant, Sarah, from now on, don't let Olivia come up to this floor again. Sarah replied with a firm, "Yes, ma'am." Then she added, "She's just an intern. She doesn't have the clearance to come up here anyway. Today was only because Mr. Vance brought her." That afternoon, Sarah suddenly came into my office and said, "VP Reynolds, Mr. Vance just lost his temper with the project team." I stood up immediately. "What happened?" Sarah hesitated for a moment, then said, "You should probably go see for yourself." As I headed out, I heard her mutter under her breath, "It's all because of that Olivia." I turned to glance at her. She looked like she wanted to say more but was holding back. "If you have something to say, just say it." Sarah bit her lip. "VP Reynolds, honestly, I figured it out. Last night during dinner, the call Olivia made, it was to Mr. Vance. A lot of people noticed." I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Oddly, my first reaction wasn't anger, it was humiliation. Daniel had to give me a clean resolution to this. After all, I was the one being dragged into this embarrassing situation because of him. When I reached the project department, I could already hear Daniel's cold voice from down the hallway. "Don't let something like this ever happen again, or you can all get out." Yes, Daniel was furious, but he never lost control or yelled just for the sake of it. Even when he was angry, his power came from his presence, not his volume. When I walked in, I saw Olivia tugging gently at the sleeve of Daniel's suit. "Don't be mad, Daniel. I'm okay. They wouldn't have bullied me for no reason, right?" Daniel turned to her, and a second later, his eyes found mine. He walked over to me slowly, his expression sharp and cold. Then, in front of everyone, he announced, "From this moment forward, Olivia is my special assistant. Olivia, bring your things upstairs." "Oh," Olivia chirped, clearly pleased, and rushed off to pack her desk. Daniel turned back to the rest of this department. "Did everyone understand what I just said?" The room was full of people, all with their heads lowered. "Yes, yes, we understand, Mr. Vance," came the mumbled chorus of voices. A few minutes later, Olivia returned with her things and beamed up at Daniel. "Let's go upstairs." But Daniel didn't even glance at her. His eyes found mine again, calm and unreadable. "You go on ahead," he said to Olivia, then he turned to me. "Come to your office, I need to talk to you." I looked away from him and addressed the room. "It's fine, everyone. Get back to work." But with Daniel standing there, not a single person dared to move. I broke the silence. I was the one in the wrong for overreacting. You all can get back to work. Only then did people slowly return to their seats. I turned to the department manager. "I'm still waiting on your revised proposal." With that, I turned and walked out. Daniel followed me all the way to my office. Once inside, he closed the door and finally spoke. "I told you, Olivia is just my professor's daughter. I only looked after her out of respect for him. Professor Hayes, there's no need," he continued, "to make things so difficult for a young girl who's just entered the workforce over something that barely matters." I sat down in my chair and asked coldly, "Difficult? Tell me, how exactly did I make things difficult for her?" Daniel stepped toward me but didn't sit down. "If it wasn't because of something you said, why would the project team go out of their way to pick on an intern?" I could hear his heavy breathing. "This company does not tolerate workplace bullying, especially when the one instigating it is you." He exhaled hard. "This is the first time. You're not just the VP, you're also my wife. Of course, I have to give you some leeway." He tapped his index finger on the desk 3 times, an unmistakable warning. "But there won't be a second time." It was becoming hard to breathe, but I still laughed. "Won't be a next time? And if there is a next time, what then? Are you planning to hit me or divorce me?" "Clara," Daniel started, but I cut him off. "First of all, I never instigated anyone to bully her. Second, during dinner, Olivia announced she was calling her boyfriend, and you answered. Everyone in the department heard it. They were defending me. The outburst you just had was already enough. Don't punish them further." I leaned back in my chair. "And accusing me without investigating? That was your first mistake." I stared him straight in the eye. "Let me return your words to you. There won't be a second time, Daniel." I said more quietly now. I don't want Olivia as your assistant. That was all I said, but it was enough. Daniel looked like he wanted to say something else, but I cut him off again. Leave. I'm busy. He looked at me for a moment in silence, then turned and walked out. My chest was rising and falling rapidly. I had never felt this furious in my entire life, but my anger wasn't because of Olivia. I was angry because Daniel had allowed Olivia to become the reason I felt this way. I couldn't focus on a single word in the documents in front of me. I hated this feeling. This situation had to be resolved completely. And I meant what I said. There won't be a second time. Because if this ever happened again, I would not continue this life with Daniel. I, Clara Reynolds, would never allow myself to be wronged no matter how much I loved him. But maybe Daniel was no longer someone worth loving. That thought suddenly surfaced from the back of my mind. It scared me a little, and I found myself trying to push it away. I wished none of this had ever happened. A few minutes later, my office door was abruptly pushed open. Olivia stormed in, crying. "Clara Reynolds!" she yelled. "Who gave you the right to stop me from being Daniel's assistant? What are you so afraid of? You're the one who told them to bully me." I looked past her at Daniel, who had followed her in. "Daniel Vance," I said calmly, "is this really something you can't handle?" "At the very least," I continued, "she's your subordinate. She has no clearance to enter my office without permission. You don't need me to teach her that, do you? Get her out of here. I don't want my work interrupted." Daniel's expression turned cold, colder than I had ever seen it. And for the first time, he looked at me with something that resembled ice in his eyes. "Olivia, that's enough. Go back to work." He gave me one final look, then turned to leave. Olivia still had tears on her face, but her lips curled into a smug smile. The look of victory was unmistakable. Then she said, "Since you don't like me, sis, I guess I'll just leave." Daniel's voice came from the doorway, low and emotionless. "You're my assistant. You don't need anyone to like you." "Daniel, please don't say that." Olivia's voice trembled. "I know I've already caused trouble for you and your wife. I'll leave." She covered her mouth with her hand and ran out, crying. Daniel turned back to look at me. I met his gaze. "Sarah!" I called out, and she immediately came over and closed the door, cutting off our eye contact. The fire in my chest burned even hotter. At that moment, I knew Daniel really wasn't worth loving anymore. And I wasn't afraid of that thought this time. I didn't resist it. I picked up my phone and called my personal attorney. That night, Daniel didn't come home. In the 5 years we had been married, aside from business trips, it was the first time. I lay in bed alone, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. I was a little heartbroken and a little sad, but more than anything, I was angry and refused to accept it. What gave Daniel the right to make me suffer like this? Who did he think he was? Just a husband. What right did he have to make me feel so wronged? If this husband didn't work out, I would just get a new one, or have none at all. A husband wasn't an irreplaceable necessity. I forced myself to lie still and close my eyes, but I barely slept. The next morning, when I saw my tired face in the mirror, my resentment toward Daniel only grew. But I still had to go to work. I put on flawless makeup, dressed in a sharp suit, and arrived at the office looking radiant. It wasn't until our morning meeting that I saw Daniel. His expression was still cold. He was clearly in a bad mood. I glanced at him once, then sat in my seat without a word. When the meeting ended, I stood up and walked straight out. From start to finish, we didn't exchange a single word. At noon, when Sarah brought me lunch, she hesitated and said, "VP Reynolds, people have been talking." "I know," I said flatly. Of course they were talking. Daniel and I were obviously not on good terms, and anyone could guess that would affect the company. But I didn't care. This was the Vance Group. I only came here after marrying Daniel because his father had passed away and his mother wasn't in good health. Like me, he was an only child. My parents were still healthy and my own family's company didn't need me to take over yet, so I came here. That was the Vance family's arrangement. As for company shares, our two companies had intertwined interests, but I only held 3% of the Vance Group. If we divorced, I could just sell them. Then I would buy back the 3% of Reynolds Corporation shares that Daniel held. It was simple. As for whether our companies would continue to cooperate, I had no objections. Daniel and I might not work as a couple anymore, but we were still good business partners. That thought brought me a strange sense of relief. Of course, the lawyer still needed time to sort through the assets under both our names, but I was in no hurry. To me, Daniel was now nothing more than a colleague. That afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was Daniel's former professor, Olivia's father, Mr. Hayes. He said his daughter had caused me some trouble and invited both Daniel and me over for dinner that evening to apologize. I agreed. A child's poor behavior is the parent's fault. Mr. Hayes truly owed me an apology to my face. At exactly 5 p.m., Daniel knocked on my office door. "Let's go." I packed my things and we left. In the car, I kept my eyes on the window, and Daniel didn't say a word either. I figured he must be in love with Olivia by now. Otherwise, he wouldn't be treating me with such cold silence. It hurt, of course, but what I felt more strongly was a refusal to lose. I've always been competitive. I couldn't stand being defeated in any aspect of my life. The car pulled to a stop. I opened the door myself and got out, following behind Daniel as we walked toward the house. Sarah was updating me on work matters via text, so my head was down as I walked. Suddenly, Daniel reached out and steadied me. "Careful," he said, his lips pressed together. "You're off work now. You shouldn't be checking emails." I didn't respond. I finished my reply to Sarah and put my phone away. Daniel didn't say anything else. When we arrived at the Hayes home, it was Olivia who answered the door. The moment she saw Daniel, she lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong. Her father, Professor Hayes, and his wife were already on the couch. "Daniel, you're here. Clara, please have a seat." Daniel handed over the gifts we had brought. At the dinner table, Professor Hayes turned to me. "Clara, our daughter Olivia has been spoiled by us. She really doesn't know any better. Please don't take it to heart. She's refused to go back to work today, no matter what we said." She cried her eyes out. Her mom and I couldn't bear to see her like that. That's why we asked Daniel to look after her. Otherwise, we'd be too worried. I gave a polite smile. "Honestly, Professor Hayes, someone like your daughter might not be suited for the workforce. With the way you've raised her, maybe it's better to just let her stay at home, carefree. The workplace can be full of negativity. No one is going to cater to her the way you do." "Clara," Daniel said my name softly, a subtle warning in his tone. I smiled at him, unbothered. "I'm just saying this for your professor and his wife's own good." Professor Hayes laughed awkwardly. "Clara, I know." "I've been told I have a strong sense of class distinction," I said, interrupting with the same polite smile. "Maybe because I am the capital in most people's eyes. And growing up, my parents never let me suffer the slightest grievance. So naturally, I find it hard to tolerate people acting superior in front of me just because of their age or status." I completely ignored Daniel's warning look and turned to Professor Hayes again. "To be honest, I thought this dinner invitation was for you to apologize on your daughter's behalf. After all, if a child misbehaves, the responsibility lies with the parents. Your daughter tried to become a mistress." "Clara, that's enough," Daniel said in a low voice. "Of course," I continued as if I hadn't heard him. "It's not entirely your daughter's fault." I gestured to Daniel beside me. "He's even more to blame." I pushed back my chair and stood up. "I won't be staying for dinner. It's not that I don't appreciate your hospitality, I'm just not used to eating this kind of food. You all go ahead." I gave them a pleasant smile and walked out with my purse, leaving behind a table of stunned and embarrassed faces. Daniel caught up with me in the elevator. His voice was low but furious. "Clara Reynolds, you were completely out of line." "You said there was nothing going on between you and Olivia," I replied. "So why didn't you come home last night? Why didn't you say a single word to me on the way here?" Daniel's voice was sharp. "Because you were wrong." "Oh, really?" I said, genuinely interested. "Tell me exactly what I was wrong about. Did I wrongly accuse you of having something with another woman? Daniel, don't tell me you haven't noticed Olivia's feelings for you. If you really couldn't tell, feel free to check the surveillance footage in my office. The day you left, she confessed it herself. Said she liked you and even bet me she could win you over." I laughed. "You didn't come home. You ignored me. Was that your way of punishing me, Daniel?" Let me ask you, between me and your professor and his daughter, who matters more to you? I continued, I won't claim I've never made mistakes, but in this situation with Olivia, I've done nothing wrong. She provoked me from the start, and as my husband, whether I'm right or wrong, you should stand by me without hesitation. You don't get to play the neutral fair judge between me and her. There is no balance between me and the Hayes family. You should lean toward me. Daniel suddenly let out a short, humorless laugh. So what you want is for me to indulge you unconditionally? He looked at me, his eyes cold. Clara Reynolds, you're not a little girl anymore. Can you stop being so unreasonable? Even as your husband, I'm not going to blindly take your side no matter what. That's not how I live my life. Fine, I said flatly, shrugging indifferently. I don't expect it. If he didn't want to stand by me unconditionally, there were plenty of people who would. And even if there was no one else, I would stand by myself. The elevator doors opened, and I walked out. I went straight back to my own family's home. My parents knew me best. The moment they saw my face, they asked, "Did you and Daniel have a fight?" My dad, ever the joker, laughed. Daniel actually knows how to argue? That's rare. What happened? I sat down on the couch and dropped the powerful demeanor I wore to the outside world. Home was where I could relax. I told them everything, from beginning to end. Both my parents agreed that Daniel was in the wrong. I never thought Daniel could be so stupid, my dad muttered. Then he turned to my mom. Is this that 7-year itch thing, but in 5 years? My mom spoke up sharply. Clara is younger than he is. How come she's not the one losing interest? Cheating is cheating. There are no excuses. Emotionally, he's clearly not with her anymore. My dad coughed. Let's hear how Clara feels first. I want a divorce, I said directly. I've already spoken to my lawyer. Their expressions grew serious. Have you really decided, Clara? My mom asked. We don't want you to suffer, but we also don't want you to make a rash decision. It's not rash, I said firmly. I want a divorce. I don't love Daniel anymore. When I fall out of love, it's fast and final. I have zero tolerance for any kind of betrayal, physical or emotional. My dad nodded slowly. If that's how you feel, leave it to me. Dad, don't go talk to him, I said quickly. I've already made up my mind. If you go to him, it will look like I'm still not over him. My dad huffed. Who said I was going to talk to him? Just don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I hadn't eaten yet, so I had dinner with my parents and then went up to my room. I still didn't sleep well. The next morning, I showed up at the office, full of energy. Sarah came in and told me, VP Reynolds, Mr. Vance left on a business trip yesterday. He didn't say when he'd be back. I nodded calmly, so he hadn't come home after all. Let him stay gone. On the third day of Daniel's trip, Olivia tried to arrange a meeting with me. I rejected her, but she showed up at the company and waited for me anyway. Fine. With a triumphant smile, she said, Daniel's out of town. He said he won't be back for 2 weeks, but actually he's not on a trip. He just wants to live separately from you. Clara Reynolds, you lost. According to our bet, you have to divorce him. Throughout this whole thing, the person I was most angry with was Daniel. But Olivia really didn't know when to stop. This is between me and Daniel, I said coldly. Stay out of it. She just smiled wider. Even if you two are gods fighting, if a mere mortal like me can cause a war between you, then that's my talent, isn't it? I stared at her for a few seconds. Fine, I nodded. If you're so determined to involve yourself, I won't stop you. Just don't regret it. After she left, I returned to my office and made a call. I asked someone to run a background check on Professor Hayes. Just then, the door swung open. A familiar figure stepped inside. What are you doing here? I asked. Leo Maxwell wore his trademark smirk. Uncle Reynolds brought me personally. Who would dare stop me? My dad. I was surprised. Where is he? Why did he send you? Leo hopped onto the edge of my desk. He said I'm supposed to be your new personal assistant. Asked you to look after me. So my dad had made his move. I already know everything, Leo said, patting his chest. Leave it to me. I'll make sure you and Daniel get divorced and annoy him in the process. I gave a dry laugh. I believe you could, but Daniel's on a business trip. Keep it low-key for a couple of days. Don't annoy me. Leo snorted. Ever since you married that guy, you've been ignoring me. Now that you're finally getting divorced, I'm here to collect on the 5 years you owe me. I rolled my eyes and told him to get out. My dad had chosen the right person. Within a few days, Leo was already causing a stir at the office. Daniel, who was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, came back after just one. When he walked into my office, Leo was sprawled on the couch playing a game on his phone. Daniel gave him a sharp look and said coldly, "Leave." Leo paused his game and walked over to my side. "Sis, he's scary," he whispered theatrically. Daniel's expression was stiff. "Clara," he said, his voice tense. "Ask him to leave. I need to talk to you." "I'm not leaving," Leo said, scooting closer to me. "I'm her personal assistant now. Uncle Reynolds put me here." He tilted his head. "Probably people are saying the same things about me and Clara as they did about you and Olivia. But they should know better," he added, smirking. "Clara's not that kind of person." Before Daniel could respond, Leo cut him off. "But I am that kind of person," he said proudly. "I want to come between you two." His expression suddenly turned serious, a rare moment of sincerity. "I've liked Clara since we were kids, always have. Daniel, if I hadn't been too young back then, you never would have had the chance. But now I'm an adult. I want to be Clara's husband. You two should go ahead and divorce." Daniel's fist suddenly shot out toward Leo's face. I jumped up, but Leo caught the punch before it landed. I shoved Daniel hard. "What the hell are you doing?" Daniel was no longer calm or composed. All I saw was raw anger. "Didn't you hear what he just said?" "I did," I replied calmly, a faint smile on my face. "But my dad told me to take care of him, so you're not allowed to hit him." Daniel finally realized what was going on. "So this is all revenge, isn't it, Clara? I told you there's nothing going on between me and Olivia." I patted Leo on the shoulder. "You go out for now." He flashed a grin at Daniel and strolled out. "Clara, let's talk this through." "Daniel, let's get a divorce." I didn't want to hear another word. I didn't love him anymore. Exhaustion clouded his face. "Don't say things you don't mean." "Our lawyer is almost done sorting out the assets," I interrupted. "Once that's finished, we'll file the paperwork." Only now did it finally sink in for him that I wasn't just being impulsive. His voice trembled with disbelief. "Just because of something so small?" "Small?" I scoffed. "If it was so small, why did you throw a punch just now?" "Daniel, I know nothing happened physically between you and Olivia, but in how you handled it, you sided with her. You let me be humiliated. That's enough of a reason to divorce." His tone softened. "Clara, I don't have a father. My mentor has always been like a father to me." "He's not my father," I cut him off. "What I wanted was to be the most important person in your life, more important than outsiders. I did that. What about you, Daniel?" His dark eyes wavered. "Maybe you still think this is a small thing," I continued, "but you gave me the cold shoulder for Olivia. You lost your temper at me. You humiliated me. You wanted to teach me a lesson. Well, thank you. I've learned it. But I'm done." Panic crossed his face. He reached for my hand. "Clara, please." "I, Clara Reynolds, always aim for the best in everything. Back then, you were the best in my heart. That's why I married you. But now, you're no longer the best. To me, you're worthless. That's why I want a divorce." I pulled my hand away and walked past him without looking back. Daniel came to my family's house, but I refused to see him. In the following days, he stood outside my house every day, waiting. I never went out. Then one day, the investigation I'd ordered on Professor Hayes was complete. He had a history of stealing students' research and pressuring female students. With our family's influence, the story came out, and the school couldn't cover it up. That's when Professor Hayes reached out to me, and as I left the house to meet him, Daniel was still standing outside. The sight of him just irritated me now. Forgiveness wasn't even a possibility. I drove right past him. At the club where we were meeting, I arrived first, but someone else showed up before Professor Hayes. It was Daniel. "Clara, give me 10 minutes, he pleaded. His voice rushed. "I know I really hurt you because of Olivia. I admit it. I was wrong." But could you see it as a first mistake? Give me another chance? He sat beside me and reached for my hand. Please, we've been married 5 years. You know I love you. I truly do. I was just confident I could handle her feelings while staying true to you. I was weak. I swear it was the first time and it will be the last. Please forgive me. Who told you that being human means you get to be weak? I said quietly. I wasn't. After marrying you, I was completely devoted. Even now, I can face my feelings. I loved you. Deeply. That's in the past, Daniel. Because now, I don't care if you love me or not. Because I don't love you anymore. His eyes turned red. He couldn't accept it. Just because I lost focus for a moment? I nodded. That's right, I told you. Clara Reynolds always wants the best, and you're not the best anymore. Just then, the door opened. Professor Hayes entered, dragging Olivia with him. Nathan, help me talk to Clara. Don't let the school expel me. Olivia pouted. Daniel, talk to your wife. She can't be so childish over something so small. But Daniel cut her off with a cold voice. Olivia, you have no right to speak about my wife. I stood up, irritated. You three talk it out. I'm leaving. Professor Hayes tried to block me, but I just laughed coldly. I turned to Olivia. Your daughter said she wasn't afraid of gods fighting. She said if a mortal like her could cause gods to fight, it proves her worth. Isn't that right? Olivia's face turned bright red. I walked straight out. Daniel chased after me, but behind us came the sharp sound of a slap. Daniel still refused to sign the divorce papers. In the end, I had to get someone to drag him to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Daniel Vance, if you don't sign, they'll witness it and file it as your consent anyway. The clerk tried to stop me. Sorry, that's not allowed. Stay out of it, I snapped. I'm getting a divorce and that's final. I turned to Daniel with cold eyes. Sign the damn paper. I don't love you anymore, and if you keep dragging this out, it's just pathetic. With trembling hands, Daniel picked up the pen. His voice quivered. All right, I'll sign. He scribbled his name, tears streaming down his face. What right did he have to cry? I hadn't cried during the countless nights I lay awake. Done, I said to the clerk. They stamped the documents and handed me my divorce certificate. I took it and walked out without looking back. Daniel followed. Clara, he called, I still can't accept that we divorced over one mistake, but I know I hurt you. It was my fault. Could you give me another chance to win you back? Good horses don't turn back, Leo suddenly chimed in from nowhere, wrapping his arm around mine. There are plenty of men in this world, Clara. Why should he get 2 chances? Let's go. A few days later, Daniel came to see me. He handed me a stock transfer agreement. These are the Reynolds Corporation shares, he said. They're yours. And the 3% you hold in the Vance Group, keep it. It was always meant to be yours. I took the agreement and signed without hesitation. That's it, I said. You can go. His eyes turned red again. Clara, I know you don't love Leo, but you don't love me either. I especially don't love you, I said with disdain. He stared at me for a moment, then walked away. At the door, he stopped. Professor Hayes has been fired. Olivia didn't pass her internship. I've cut ties with them. I said nothing. Only then did he finally leave. Back at Reynolds Corporation, Sarah came in. Ma'am, Daniel Vance just left. I replied blandly, don't let him in again. If I run into him in public, that's one thing. But on my territory, he's never setting foot in here again. Once you're out forever. That's my rule. Same goes for love. There are plenty of men in the world. If there's love, I'll handle it seriously. If there's no love, I'll enjoy my freedom. But whether it's love or just fun, Daniel Vance will never have a place in my life again. Because he is no longer the best, and I, Clara Reynolds, deserve only the best.